answer these questions. Who is your Lord? What is your religion? Who is this man? We know the answers, right? But brothers and sisters, understand this. That when we die and we go into the grave, that if we are not conscious of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in this life, we will not be able to answer the questions. Understand this. It's very simple questions. But you will never be able to answer the question in the grave if you're not conscious of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in this life. So let's wake up. This is a wake-up call. Okay? That the questions are so simple, but your response will be preserved in the manner in which we live our life. If we live our life without being conscious of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will preserve that state for us in the grave, and we will not answer these questions. Very simple questions. But if you live a life where you're conscious of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in your actions and your thoughts and your deeds, He will preserve that state in the grave, and you will answer these questions, and then the voice will say, my slave has spoken the truth. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will not preserve lies in the grave. He will preserve the truth of our life. So let's understand. The questions, we say, Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wa ashhadu anna Muhammad Rasulullah. Well, everybody says that. Who says we are Muslim? The hypocrites say that. Everybody says that, right? A non-believer can say that without meaning it. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not preserve that what you say with your lip. He preserves your state of taqwa in the grave. And this is why this particular ayah refers to death, refers to taqwa, and refers to Islam. So understand that as we are getting older, there's no guarantee when we die. Death comes at any time. It can come young, it can come middle age, it can come when we are old, it can come any time. But when we go to that point where we're in the grave, as the Sheikh said last night, don't live a life where you will regret it in the grave. Right? So let's start getting ourselves on that journey. Our taqwa and our iman is preserved at death in its correct state. We can't tell lies that day. There's another hadith from Prophet ﷺ. This is just a part of it again. Atta ibn Abi Rabah narrated from Ibn Umar that the Prophet ﷺ said, whenever fornication appears among the people, plagues and famine appear among them, which were not known by their ancestors. One Prophet ﷺ he didn't come to teach man how to discover oil in the earth, or how to drill for water, right? Or to teach people how to cook. He didn't come for that. He come to teach man about our consequences of our action, and this is one of his teaching. In that he's saying that whenever there's fornication, that the thing that will happen is plagues and famine, and diseases that you never knew about. New diseases will come. So whenever you see that diseases overtaking the people, and people are hungry all over the place, famine, understand that the reason for that is fornication. Right? He's given us the reason for why things happen. Number 2, when people give short measure and wait, they are afflicted by drought and intense trouble and tyranny from those who rule them. We will suffer oppression. If we are not doing our businesses properly, and you're giving short measure and wait, and you're robbing people, and this is prevalent in society, then the result of that is drought and oppression. When people refuse to pay zakat due on their property, you're denied rain from heaven. It's the consequence of what we do, right? And if we want the rain to fall, you can sit and beg as much as we want, but if you're not paying the zakat, the rain wouldn't come. Right? Understand that the consequences of what we do, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala causes whatever happens. Right? And we're not going to be digging in the ground and finding the water every year. He take the water away from us. And when we restore the zakat, He will restore the rain for us. And when fornication stops, then He will make the famine go away. When the people break the contract with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and the contract of the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam, your enemy is given power over you. And no matter what we do, we cannot defend. We defeat them. When we break our contract with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as Muslims, you know when we say Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah, Ashhadu anna Muhammad Rasulullah, you know what we're saying? That we will fulfill all of the obligations that they placed on us. The primary one being Salat. And when we start to abandon the Salat, then our enemy will be given victory over us. Right? And if no guns in the world and no military preparation will allow us to get victory. None whatsoever. We have to go to establishing the contract between Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and the contract of the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Remember the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, when he went up to on the night of Al-Isra, he made a contract for us. Right? He was given Salat that night. The 5 Salat we were commanded to do. And that's one of the contracts we make. And the Quran says, Atiyu Allah wa Atiyu Rasul. Right? And if we don't do what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants us to do, and we don't do what Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam wants us to do, then our enemy will be given power over us. It's very simple to understand what's happening in the world today. It is not them. Right? It's us. We are the problem. The Sheikh mentioned something last night that was really very interesting. He said that, you know, nowadays when people hear something is a sunnah, the reaction is, we don't have to do that. I don't know if you heard this. So the reaction is, so if it's a sunnah salat, or we don't have to do that, right? Or, you know, whatever thing that the Prophet ﷺ says, we don't have to do that, right? Sunnah. But understand this, we break the contract with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and His Messenger. This is what is the result. And He spoke these words 1400 years ago. When we understand them, we will know how to live. If we eliminate the thing there, then the consequence will go away. Right? And we all need to do our part collectively. We cannot have 10 people in the Muslim Ummah doing the right things and the rest going astray, and we will get relief. No amount of dua is going to remove it from us, unless we remove what we are doing with our own hands. Unless we correct our own actions, then we wouldn't get any improvement. When their imams fail to judge by the book of Allah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala makes them harm one another. We fight amongst ourselves. When the imams are not leading us in the right way, when the imams are not using the book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as the source of judgment, then the result is we will start fighting amongst ourselves. Understand that. We cannot compromise the book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. When we start to make compromises there, when we start to fight amongst ourselves. And you say, why are we fighting, brothers? Why we don't have unity? Well, this is the reason why. And this is just an example. There's a lot of hadith like this, by the way. If you go and study the hadith, there's a lot of them this way that will tell you that if this thing happens, this is what's the reason for it. I just picked a few. These are the consequences of our action. And remember, as we go through the Ramadan, we have to improve ourselves, and inshallah these things could go away. But if it starts to get worse and worse, it means that we as people are getting worse and worse. I just have to leave you with something that I hope inshallah will help us all move towards improving ourselves. And this is a lesson from the Prophet Nuh alayhi salam. You know, there's a lot of stories in Quran, you know, story of Musa alayhi salam and Nuh, and they're all there. The story of Mary is in there, you know, Imran, all of these are in Quran. But the lessons in all of these stories, I'll just give you one of the lessons from that the Prophet Nuh alayhi salam taught us that is preserved in Quran. And this is from Surah Nuh. فَقُلْتُ اسْتَغْفِرُوا رَبَّكُمْ إِنَّهُ كَانَ غَفَّارًا. And I highlighted the part in red. He says, you say, astaghfirullah, you ask forgiveness of your Lord. He said, say. He's telling the people,